Yo, what is up guys, it's your boy The North here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you guys about my favorite spot to do most of the Eris bounties and to do the general Vanguard bounties, as well as knocking out a couple public events and doing a little bit of Engram farming, all that good stuff. Now before I kind of get into where the place is and like why I like it and whatnot, I know there's probably more efficient places to do some of this stuff. I know for Engram farming there's a really good spot on Venus, as long as it hasn't been patched, it's probably pretty dope. And I know the majority of people who do Eris bounties do it on one of the first moon missions. I think it's the one with the cinematic. I think it's like the Temple of Crota. It's the one where you like are looking for that lost guardian and you end up doing that cutscene where that chick's watching you. Anyway, most people just kind of take it to that part, get the checkpoint, and then kill the majority of the guys without killing the knight, I believe, and then go back to orbit or die and then come back. I personally don't want to do something like that. I like this one because it gives me a variety and it gives me some other options besides just doing the bounties. So anyway guys, as you can see, this is the Skywatch. I'm not quite sure if many people really use this spot because whenever I'm on, there's like very little people here. The only time I really see other people here is when public events are about to hit, or you know, the Urzog fight's about to come up, but usually I don't see too many people around here. I know this is the place where the loot cave used to be, and I know it's been patched, but that doesn't bother me at all. Before I start talking about the spots, guys, and how they're useful, just understand that I don't remember all the bounties off the top of my head, and I'm going to try to do my best to explain them while I'm talking about the spots. So if I kind of mess up in a place, please forgive me. But I know there's a couple of the really specific ones you can't do here, such as like, you know, kill blah 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 on, you know, a nightfall strike or whatever. But there are a couple really specific ones, especially Earth-specific ones, that are actually really close to this Skywatch area, so it's really nice and helpful. And you can do a bunch of the other ones, like, you know, killing Blades of Crota on Earth, blah blah blah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the spots. First off, you have this actual main Skywatch area, which has these two little skirmishes going on right here in the middle. You got plenty of guys all bunched up if you're trying to get your super bounty, you know, get 3 kills with 1 super, blah blah blah. Also you can do like the get 20 kills without getting touched really easily here because they don't really pay attention to you at first. And you got your hive guys here, you got your thrall there if you're trying to do some stuff for like the urn or whatnot. These guys also respawn pretty fast, so that's really nice as well for trying to work on bounties or just trying to get kills to see if any engrams drop. You also get a few hive that spawn in the down ship and come out there and kind of mill about at the front. A couple more thralls you can knock out, and then the acolytes there, of course. Moving into the ship, you also have a knight that spawns in there and a couple more acolytes as well. So if you're trying to get the kill 10 knights or wizards, I think it's 10, then you got a knight right there, which is nice, and he spawns pretty regularly. In addition, here in the Skywatch, you have Blades of Crota that spawn. They spawn here in the down ship in this kind of vicinity here, and they also spawn in where the loot cave used to be. And guys, when you get done with all that, if you just don't have enough creepy voice in your life, kind of like me, then you can come over here and disturb these remains and just listen to this voice. Easily my favorite place to listen to a creepy disembodied voice, hands down. So we got hive there, we got groups of enemies, we got a knight, we got blades that spawn. Moving back towards the moth yards, you also have this little tiny camp of fallen right here. You can murk them in like easily 2 or 3 seconds, so you might as well do it as you roll in. Rolling into here, you'll see a bigger skirmish going on with Fallen and Hive, with a captain and a wizard in there. So you got another wizard there if you're trying to go for that bounty, and you got a fair amount of enemies again all clumped into one place, which is really easy to start working on that super bounty. And then you got a fair amount of thralls, and you got a fair amount of acolytes there as well if you're just trying to get those hive bounties. So again, we got a fair amount of hive already in this spot. We're going to move into the actual treasure trove now of hive, and that is right here in this one area where you first encounter a bunch of thralls when you're going through your missions. And obviously you got a bunch of acolytes here right now, and you got a knight in the middle. Again, goes towards your knight bounty. But that's not the best part about this one, because whenever you get done with those guys and you roll into this corner, you'll see, I believe it's called the Servant of the Hand. This little thrall just kind of sitting all depressed like in the corner. All you gotta do is pop him and it'll bring forth the Hand of Crota guy you need to kill for one of your bounties. So it can be a little disconcerting the first time these guys pop up. I know for my first time it actually startled the shit out of me because I was not expecting all the noise and all the spawns to be happening so fast. But there's a couple places you can kind of sit and do this. You can either sit in the doorway, and whenever they get really close to you in the doorway and start rushing, you just back up the stairs and they'll kind of back off. Or you can stand in the middle and kind of watch down. They just kind of mill about, so you can look around and pick off the ones you want to pick off if you're trying to do that thrall bounty for the urn. And this also is where you'll get all your cursed thralls if you're trying to do the part where you need to melee cursed thralls. So that part's a tad bit more difficult because it really depends on what character you are and the type of class you are. Because I know whenever I went and did it, I was a Sunsinger Warlock and I had a buddy that went with me that was a Hunter. And for me it was a lot easier because I had the Flame Shield, so when I went down and hit him, it would kind of soak up some of the damage. But he was having a little more trouble because he didn't have as much armor allocated towards him, and he didn't have that type of shield, so he was having a hard time, you know, killing him and staying up. So this is one thing I definitely suggest using the middle for, because you can look for the ones that are a little bit more isolated and kind of weaken them with your assault rifle. And then whichever way you want to do it, I highly suggest you bump up your armor for this one. I'm sure you guys already knew that. But yeah, just go down there and try to hit it, and then try to get back up top really quick, because once you hit the floor, they will start to converge on you. But I like that spot so much more than the doorway, because when it comes to the doorway, they tend to rush you in the door, and they all back off, and they seem like they kind of run away. But the Hand of Crota guy likes to stand right outside the door with a couple cursed thralls, and so as soon as you go close, they all just rush around the corner, and it's just a fucking melee. So anyway, there's that, guys. Obviously, that knocks out a fair amount of bounties. It's maybe a little bit sketchy for the cursed thralls, but that knocks out a fair amount of the bounties. And getting to the other useful location in this area, all you gotta do is roll back through the Skywatch, murking everybody in your path, of course, run through that terrestrial complex building, and you'll come out on this landing. So the first thing you'll notice is this guy on his knees worshiping this pot of whatever it is. That is the Servant of the Eyes. You gotta murk him and steal his pot of treasure, I suppose is what they call it, to bring out the Eyes of Crota, and that is another bounty you gotta do for Eris. But in addition to that, you have some more knights over here and some more hive, and just some more fallen that you can just murk in general. And this is nice, you know, if you're just trying to roll through all the areas consistently. You know, they should have all spawned. If you are like going in a pattern, if you're going middle, Moth Yards area, well, like intro Moth Yards area, and then back through Skywatch and then through the terrestrial complex, they should all have been spawned up by the time you get through that whole rotation. And if they aren't, just kind of rotate back out, murk the guys in the middle again, and then you can rotate back. The last thing I really like about this location is the fact that you have a couple daily events pretty close, and you have the Urzog fight that happens right in the middle of the Skywatch. So for the daily events, as long as you have the sight open or the timer, whatever you use to keep track of the daily events, you can bounce right out to the Moth Yards really fast and pick up that daily event. And then there'll be one that occasionally goes off right in the middle of the Skywatch, but it's either going to be the daily event in the Skywatch, or it's going to be the Urzog fight you guys are seeing on screen right now. And the Urzog fight marks the second to last thing you need to do to complete your urn, which is pretty cool because you can do almost all of your urn just right here in this location. You have to go and do an actual quest on the moon to finish the urn, but you can do the majority here on the Skywatch. The only thing I'll suggest, guys, is make sure you bring some people whenever you're trying to get rid of Urzog. Whenever you see the text in the bottom left that says something like the enemies are moving against each other, you know this massive battle between Hive and Fallen is about to go down, which is really nice because it ends up spawning up wizards and knights as well, and just gives you a multitude of enemies you can just slay through, especially for like the first level. Once you get toward the Urzog level, though, it gets a lot harder. Urzog and his Hollowed Knights and Wizards at the end hurt a lot, and you also have Reaver Captains running around, so I made the mistake of showing up by myself, assuming that other people were going to show up because they were trying to work on the bounty as well, and ended up trying to 1v1 Urzog for a while, which is just a no-go at all. But the good news is, Urzog does show up for all the daily events, and I was actually doing a daily event with 4 or 5 other people, and then Urzog ended up showing up, and we just completely destroyed him. So that's how I finished my bounty. It was a complete coincidence. I wasn't even going for him. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. I really do enjoy that fight, and that kind of leads me just kind of like to wrapping things up on why I really enjoy this place. I like it so much because I feel really active when I'm here. I feel like I'm constantly bouncing between multitudes of enemies. I'm bouncing between all these battles, and it's kind of fun just being that guardian that jumps into 2, you know, or 3 or 4 different battles and just kind of like murks all the enemies there. And you know, it's just a more fun way for me to do a little bit of Engram farming. Whenever I've done this, I usually do this spot for like an hour, maybe 2, and in that time I usually get about 6 or 7 decoherence, which is not that much, but if you think about how you're doing all this stuff to get bounties done and whatnot, it definitely is kind of a nice little byproduct. The one thing I didn't mention, guys, that you can do as well here is if you're doing the patrol mission, which is what you should be doing, you should be doing this on patrol. You can do a lot of the patrol missions that are here in the Skywatch, or you can bounce out to the Moth Yards and grab some of theirs. I would suggest grabbing the ones that are just kill only because those are a lot easier and those don't kind of like take away from the focus that you do have, but you can do whatever you want. But it's just a nice little, you have a nice little spread here. You got a multitude of enemies you can kill, you got a bunch of bounties you can finish, you got the 2 servants that are right there that spawn up even more enemies and that just really help in general, and you have, you know, the daily events that happen, you've got the blades that show up, you've got that massive battle between Hive and Fallen where Urzog shows up. I really like this spot. I enjoy pretty much everything about it, and like I said, it keeps me busy. I also just really enjoy the Earth setting as a whole. I've kind of talked to my roommate Phil about it, and for some reason I know that all the other maps are, you know, really big, or all the other planets, excuse me, are, you know, really big and they have all these little facets to it, but for some reason I really just feel like the Earth is the biggest one and just has the most going on and kind of the coolest just infrastructure, I guess. I know that sounds really nerdy to say, but I just enjoy everything about it. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. If anything, I hope it just gave you another spot to try out whenever you're working on these bounties. I just want to let you guys know before I go that I am going to be double uploading today. I've realized that some people aren't, you know, the biggest Destiny fans or don't really care about, you know, the tips that I have to offer, and so I decided to do a little bit of a COD montage. It's not like really anything crazy, it's just kind of a way to kind of clear out some of my split and faded clips that still look really cool, but aren't things that I can use in an actual episode, so I hope you guys will stick around for that. It should be going up around 2 hours from now, so please check that out if you do have the time. Anyways, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. It definitely helps me out a lot. And have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.